Okay, so this video is going to be on answering questions all about questionnaires and data collection. Okay, so the first question, usually seen on a foundation paper, although it has cropped up on higher papers before, is that Jamie wants to find out the most common colour of car that his teachers drive, and we're asked to design a data collection sheet for him to use. Okay, and now this phrase, data collection sheet, is a real telltale sign to do with what he's actually wanting here. So here, although the video is called questionnaires, this is actually a tally table that he's going to do. So first off, he wants to find out the most common color of cars. So we need to have a table heading of color. The next column we're going to have in the table is the tally. And then finally, in the last column, we're going to write frequency. Now, you can put total as well, that is fine, but to be more accurate, we would use frequency for this. Now, you could put down a couple of colors, but the marks are actually given for, firstly, this first column, tally for the second column, and then frequency for the last column. So 3 marks for each of those. Okay, so the second question is all about questionnaires, and they usually have 2 different types of question asked about them. Okay, so in this case, Jamie wants to collect information about the amount of sleep people in his class get. Okay, so give 2 problems with the questionnaire he is going to use. How much do you sleep? A little or a lot? Well, there are a couple of set answers to these sorts of questions, and I'll run through all the different types of answers in a moment. But first off, as you can see, how much do you sleep? The most common answer that usually is referred to here is that there is no time reference or no time frame given. Okay, so I'm just going to write that in, no time frame given. What we mean by this is that how much do you sleep doesn't refer to a certain amount of time. So how much do you sleep a night? How much do you sleep a week? How much do you sleep a year? Are all going to give you different answers, and people are going to interpret that question differently depending who they are. So really what he needed to do here was write, how much do you sleep a night? So this next answer is a little bit more obvious than the time frame. This is all to do with the tick boxes. Now he's given you the option of either ticking a little or a lot. Now the way we answer this is that we say that this is too vague. If you think about it, the people that are answering this question will have different interpretations of what little amounts of sleep is and lots of sleep is. Okay, some people might think that lots of sleep is 9 hours. Some people might think lots of sleep is 6 hours. Really depends on the person. Okay, so I'm continuing example 2 into a different question here. So he's tried something else here, and we're asked to give another 2 problems with his new questionnaire. So this one is asked, how many hours do you sleep each night? Okay, so he's got the time frame sorted because now he's writing each night. But there are a couple of issues with his tick boxes here. So firstly, okay, you might spot that the tick boxes overlap. If somebody was to sleep for 4 hours, you would either be ticking this box or this box. Okay, so another common answer here is that you have overlapping answer boxes. Okay, so another really common answer to this sort of question, or common mistake that people make in questionnaires, is that they don't include every possible answer. Here, if somebody slept for more than 8 hours, which I know a lot of you guys do, okay, you wouldn't have a box to tick. Okay, so the posh way of saying this is that the answer boxes are non-exhaustive. So we can write non-exhaustive answer boxes. Okay, another way of putting this is that there is no option for more than 8. So you could write no option more than 8 as well as a different answer. Okay, so when you're actually designing your questionnaires, make sure that you've got a box which is 8+ on there, all right? So a lot of people get taught to put other, but really what we're looking for is an 8+ box, just to make sure we cover every single possibility. Okay, so for that last example, there are a couple of set answers that you can put in and learn. I've put them in order of how commonly I've seen these questions come up. So the most common answer is that it's not time specific. Okay, if you remember, that was the one that didn't have a time frame. Okay, the second one is the overlapping answer boxes. The third one is that the answer boxes do not contain all possible answers. That was the one where we didn't have an 8+ option. So the answers are not exhaustive. Okay, the next one is that it's too vague, that we had in that first question, or that you have non-numeric answer boxes. And I've put a last one on there, which I have seen before, where it is a leading question. So these are cases where somebody's trying to prompt you to answer the way they want. So surely you believe that maths is the best subject. It's a question along those lines where you're trying to push somebody to give the answer that you want them to. Okay, so before you go into your GCSE, make sure that you know these 5 different answers for these questionnaire questions. Okay, so this next example is the type of question that might come up afterwards. Okay, so here we're asked to actually design a questionnaire that is appropriate for Jamie's use. Okay, so basically what we want to do is all of those 5 things that we had in the previous section, we want to make sure that we incorporate all of them. So here he was talking about the amount of sleep that people in his class get. So again, we need to make sure that our question has a time frame. So we're going to say, how many hours of sleep do you get a night? Okay, so notice I've incorporated hours and I've said that it is a night. Okay, so those are the ways that you're going to get 1 mark for the question. Okay, so the next part to this is that we need to put some answer boxes. Now, usually the mark scheme says that you must put a minimum of 3. I would suggest that always put 4 or 5. So we're going to make sure that we've got 5 here. And if you remember the answer boxes, we need to make sure that they're not vague, that they don't overlap, and they're not exhaustive. Now, unfortunately, when we're dealing with answer boxes, they don't let us use inequality signs, which actually would sort all of the problems out straight away. So we've got a bit of dilemma where we've basically forced to either make our answer boxes overlapping or not to contain every possible value. Now, the way that they get around this in the mark scheme is that they make sure that they will allow one or the other. So usually they prefer to not have every possible answer. So like this. So we've got 4 boxes. Okay, so the first box is going to be 0 to 3. The next box, okay, we're going to do 4 to 6. Now I know that we are missing some data in between 3 and 4, but at least this way we don't have overlapping answer boxes, which they prefer. So now we have 7 to 9, and then if you remember this last box, we need to make sure that we've got 10+. Okay, an alternative way of doing your answer boxes is to make them overlapping, but this way you are making sure that you're containing every possible value that you could get. So here, if you notice, I've got 6 and 6, and I'm going to have 9+ here as well. So this time, these green ones down the bottom here are overlapping, but they contain every possible value, whereas the one at the top is not overlapping, but doesn't contain every possible value. As long as you don't have both things happening in your answer boxes, you should be all right to get the mark. Okay. Okay, so this last question comes up quite often, and it's all to do with biased sampling. Okay, so here Jamie's going to ask 10 students in his maths class to complete the questionnaire. Give 2 reasons why this is not a suitable sample. All right, so what we're looking for here is ways that the people that he's chosen are not random. Okay, so first off, okay, the first thing to be looking out for is how many people he asks. Okay, so 10 is a very small number of people. So we can say that the sample size is too small. Okay, so unless he's choosing about 100 people or more, the sample size is probably going to be too small. That's the most common answer for this. The second answer that we're looking for on these sorts of questions is going to be how the people that he's choosing are not random. So what you want to do is you want to think about the place that he's choosing. Is the place changing? Okay, in this case, it's not. All right. Or is it the time of day? Is the time of day the same? Okay, that's going to give the same type of person. Okay, how are these people going to be the same? Okay, and that's going to be the problem with his sampling. So in this case, the place is the same all the time. Okay, so what you want to write down is that the place in which he's collecting the data is always the same, which will not give random answers. Okay, so what we want to say here is that the place that he is choosing people is not going to give us a good random sample of people. Okay, so hopefully that's helped you to answer these questionnaire questions. I suggest that you practice a lot of the exam questions on this. You'll see that they're very similar all the time. And you make sure that before you go into your exam, you've got those 5 phrases in your head and learnt, because they're usually a couple of those will get you some marks. When it comes to this biased question at the end, again, you're just trying to think of how are the people chosen, not random. So again, have a little think about time, place, and also have a little look at the number of people that they are choosing, because usually that's quite low. Okay, so good luck.